Testing. Alrighty. Okie-dokie. Alright, looks good so far. And let's go ahead and get this off. Okay, hello everybody. This is just a kind of impromptu live live session. I'm just going to show a couple things I've been working on and maybe some, kind of give you a hint of kind of what I'm going to be working on over the next couple of weeks on the different tutorials and things I want to work on. And I got some new stuff coming in the pipeline and some new stuff and some different stuff that I've done before. So again, I'm not back to my home. I'm still kind of quarantined here in the countryside of Japan, and it's lovely, lovely weather, very hot. And but I haven't gotten back to my normal place where I have all my equipment. So yeah, you'll see some probably the sound isn't that good. I don't have that dual screens and a little bit messy, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. So let's take a look here. You can see I'm using OBS Studio. And let me see if I can get the chat window up here too. Windows chat. Yeah, so there's the chat window. So, pop in and see if, I don't know if anybody's even here yet. But that's what happens when you don't announce these things. So I guess it's my own fault. And let's see, get that. And see if we can get that around here somewhere. And that's one of the things I've been working on. And I just kind of move this around. So that's kind of annoying. I apologize for that. Like I said, I wish I can get back to my usual place of recording and such. And let me get this over into live chat. Again, I hope it's even going out. It's a lot easier to do what needs to get done. So, hello to Mehul Rathi. How you doing? So one of the things, now as you know, if you've been following my channel at all, you know that I'm kind of a, Python's kind of my main thing. Okay, just want to make sure that's working. Python's kind of my main thing. I also do a little bit of Java because these are the things that I teach in my everyday, my job. And so, this channel just kind of started as an extension of my job. And I started making videos for my students, and I needed a place to host them. So, thankfully YouTube was there for me. So thank you to YouTube for that. And so basically, I've been mostly Python and some Java. Python I prefer. It's just a lot easier, more comfortable to code in. But now that I've done some more stuff, I do appreciate how useful Java can be, especially with the more strict typing system. Sometimes that gets confusing when you're trying to code with other people's code and you don't know, are you supposed to send an integer, you're supposed to send a list of integers, you're supposed to send a dictionary. You don't really know because Python doesn't tell you. Now I know it's been fixed before people start saying, well, I know there's annotations and things. Okay, yes, I know about these things. But it's not like everybody uses those yet. So anyway, it's kind of interesting. Hello to AAA Cowboys. Yes, I am back. And I am on day 9 of my government quarantine here. So yeah, lots of fun. So this year at my job, I'm teaching a new course. And hey Sid, how's it going, buddy? And so I'll be teaching, now the students I don't think know this yet, but I'll be teaching grade 10 coding. And so, I've already, in my school, I already teach Python, I already teach Java, and I wanted to hit JavaScript. I wanted to find a spot for JavaScript in the curriculum. And because those are kind of the big 3 languages. I know, other languages are growing or things, but really right now it's Java, Python, and JavaScript. Those are the big 3. So I wanted to at least get some of that into the curriculum, and finally I have my chance. Bottom Barrel Budget Films. I love that name, by the way. Only studying programming for a month. Haven't gotten very far. You are at the very beginning of a very long journey, and I welcome you to the club. So I started working on this for my students, and basically what it is just some real basic JavaScript. The thing is, I don't really know a lot about JavaScript. I know how to code and things, but I don't really know that much about JavaScript. I've done some stuff in the past with it, but it's been a very, very, very long time. So this is what we call vanilla JavaScript. There's no, what do you call it, modules. There's no, I forget, libraries or anything. I'm just kind of doing it all old school. And basically going to walk the students through, here's what a variable is, here's how we print screen things through the browser. And one of the things that makes JavaScript a little bit challenging to beginners especially is that, it's, it was born sort of to be used in browsers and web pages. And this is one of those things where that can make things a little bit complicated sometimes. Now I know about Node.js and all these other areas that it can be used, but this is where it got its start. So I'm gonna kind of stick with that. Thanks, Mehul. I'm glad you learned a lot. Thanks, AAA. Appreciate that. And yeah, I'm glad you guys learned how to code games. That's when I started making my courses, I was like, what should I focus on? And I was like, well, when I was learning to code way, way, way long ago, I liked making games. So that's what I tend to focus on in my classes. Not always, but I do kind of, we always end up there somehow. So especially the classics like the Snake game. Yeah, very good. Cowboys. Anyway, so here's just some, how do we put something on the screen on the browser? How do we do comparisons? Here's how we do a loop. Now, if you know Java, of course, this looks very, very similar, except you don't put int I equals 1. But if you're doing, again, all these programming languages, they basically look the same. The concepts are all the same. So here's a function, and you call the function. It's not all that different from other programming languages. Now, again, you can see all this extra stuff here because this is the HTML kind of boilerplate code that we need. And if I run that, and I don't run it because I've already run it, if I run that, it looks like this. And it says, hello world, my name is Tokyo EdTech, I am 49 years old. And that is correct, unfortunately. Yes, I know I'm old, sad face. 175 centimeters tall on a good day. And it is true that I'm sleepy. I'm always sleepy. So then I just did a little loop to count up to 49, and I did a little loop to count down from 49 to 1. And I did my little function here. So this is going to be the first couple days of my new JavaScript course that I'm teaching at my school. So if any of my students are following along at home and like sneaking into the chat here, this is what you guys are going to be doing. If you're in grade 10, this is what you guys are going to be doing. And then we'll kind of go on from there. Oh man, you watched all my videos. There are 300 plus videos, Mehul. That's a lot of videos. So I hope you did watch them all. Yeah, bottom barrel. Automate the boring stuff is very, very well known. I've never actually done it myself, to be honest with you. I'm not like really into learning programming from books. I tend to like videos and just kind of come up with my own stuff. But I definitely am more of a YouTuber, like watching YouTubers, than I am reading a book. Just not my thing. Yes, Sid, I am very old. Thank you. But I like to think that I am young at heart, so I'll keep telling myself that. Vibov, start a tutorial of making a Flappy Bird game. Didn't I do that once? I think I did that already. Check, search for Flappy Bird in my thing. I think there's a live thing where I did Flappy Bird. I didn't do the whole thing, but at least got you started. But as one, I definitely want to do like a proper tutorial. Ayub X, hello, how's it going? And then here is another thing that I'm going to be doing with my AP Computer Science students. I want to try to explain them actually how computers work. God help us all. So let me show you what I want to do with that. And so I'm going to use this website, SkilledRick6502. Oh, Py games. Yeah, I'm not a big Py game person. I just don't use it that much. I use that turtle module like you wouldn't believe. Bottom barrel. 28. Oh, my word. Oh, I wish I was 28 again. Well, do I? I don't know. Some days. I do. I have a very good life. I can't really complain. But, But what I want to teach, what I want to get across, this is probably, and I did do a video about 6502 assembly coding. Now, 6502 was an old, still exists actually. It was an old 8-bit processor. It was in the old Commodore 64. It was in the, I think it was in the NES as well. Or no, it was the Z80. can't remember. But anyway, it was one of the early 8-bit processors that helped spark the computing revolution and all that sort of thing. So I knew that. Write the code here, please. Ayub, what code are you talking about? You talking about the JavaScript? And so what I'm trying to teach my students is how, basically how a computer works. Let me actually pop this thing up. And this is just for me to kind of practice, yeah, there it is. Kind of practice how I'm going to teach this the first day of class to my students. So basically, Python, what are you even talking about? Hey, Mr. Tech Guy. Can you add your web page in server? Don't know what you're talking about, Sergey, sorry. Bottom barrel. It's a tough place to be, buddy. So basically, this is what I'm going to be teaching my students that first day of AP Computer Science, is how a computer works. So basically, a computer has a bunch of memory locations. Mr. Tech Guy, probably not. Bunch of memory locations, and the CPU accesses those memory locations, and it can store stuff into the memory, it can retrieve stuff from the memory, and it can do certain mathematical operations on that information. So it's all really just numbers to the computer. Now that's what I find very fascinating about this whole thing. So everything that you do is at some point reduced to a number in your computer's memory. It's crazy when you think about it. So let me kind of run some code here. So let's say, now this is a comment in assembly. Which I'll put the link if anybody else is interested in this. So, oops, let's get that back. And let's maybe not get that back. Oh, where was it? Okay. Okay, can you join in my Minecraft user? Okay, I'm going to hide that one. Ayub. Oh, thanks, the other moderator. I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but let me do my thing here, bud. So basically what I want to do is, if we want to do z, let's say we want to do the following code. We want to say x equals 3, doesn't matter, just pick the number. We're going to say y equals 5, and then we want to z equals x plus y. Okay, so these are comments. So this is not assembly code. This is just a comment for human beings. Alrighty, this guy is getting the boot. Put user in timeout. How's that? So, all right. So Ayub, I don't mind you participating, but I'm trying to do something here, and if you'd like to participate, that's great. Yeah. So let me do my thing, bro. All right. So. Now, as I said, everything that's in the computer's memory, or everything the computer does, eventually ends up as numbers in the memory. Okay, so we have some different commands. I have a few of the basic commands listed here. 6502 assembly, or I don't know, it's like 70 or 80 commands. I forget exactly how many. Hi, Busy Anthony. And I'm just going to go over a couple here, just hopefully get the idea of how your processor works. Now again, if you're using a laptop, you probably have an x86 processor, or you may have an ARM processor. So the numbers and the commands will be different, but the principles are, of course, all the same. So this 3, this 5, okay, whatever z is going to equal, has to go into the memory somewhere. Now, of course, your computer probably has gigabytes and gigabytes and gigabytes of memory. But in our little fictitious computer here, we just have 40 bytes. So now I'm going to be ignoring a few things. So those of you that know a lot about assembly already, I'm ignoring 16-bit numbers. I'm ignoring the fact that 8-bit only counts up to 255. I'm just ignoring a lot of things to simplify this for people that just need to know the basics. So what I want to do is I'm going to choose. Well, first of all, my programming, my commands have to go into memory as well. So like LDA is a command, and that's represented by a number. I forget what the number is, doesn't matter. But that takes up a space in memory. So each command takes up a space in memory, and then the values that I want to store take up a space in memory. So this PC here, this tells us where the program is executing from. So in my fictitious example here, my PC is going to be 1. So I'm going to start my program at 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put X, I'm going to put it in 38. So memory location 38 is going to hold my X. Memory location 39 is going to hold my Y. And memory location 40 is going to hold my Z. Now I'm going to do a proper video on this eventually for my students. But yeah, if those of you are interested in this, again, this is not my normal Python game type stuff. So you might not find it quite as interesting, but I think it's fascinating. So anyway, so X equals 3. Now, as I said, X is going to go into here. Now there's no way to directly put that number into there. So what I'm going to do first is in the CPU, I'm going to put the number into what's called the accumulator. So that's my first job. So I'm going to type LDA, means load the accumulator, and I'm going to put number 3. Okay, that number, the pound sign, the number symbol is very, very important. Okay. So once I do this, that means there is now in the CPU, there's now a 3 in the accumulator register. Okay. There's also an X and Y register. I'm just not going to talk about those today. I'm just going to talk about the accumulator. Now that this number is inside the CPU, I can now take it from the CPU and put it into memory. So I'm going to do STA 38. Okay. So this is the equivalent of X equals 3. Now if you remember, we said that X was going to be stored in memory location 38. So now there's a 3 in here. Okay. Next, I need to do the same thing with Y equals 5. So those of you watching at home, if anybody's still watching, yeah, this is pretty hardcore stuff. I want to do Y equals 5. Geez, this is 6502 assembly. Check it out. And excuse me. So now I want to do Y equals 5. And as I said earlier, Y is going to go in 39. So I'm going to do LDA number 5. And I'm going to do STA 39. So what I've done now is I've added, if I could look at the memory, there'd be a 3 here and there would be a 5 here. Or sorry, 3 here and a 5 here. So what I want to do is I want to add those two numbers. Of course, it's going to give us 8. And I want to put that into memory location 40. Okay. So I've stored those numbers. Hey, Ham, yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go LDA 38. So what I've done, notice I didn't use a number here. Or I used number here, but I used 38. So if you see a number, that means it's the value. You see no number, it's the memory location. Okay. So I'm going to load the accumulator with 38. So we put 3 in 38. Okay, I'm going to have to do this on the board when I teach this. So now there is a 3 here. Now I'm going to do ADC, which means add with carry. Ignore the carry thing. And what I want to do is I want to add Y, which is in memory location 39. So I'm going to type 39. Okay. So now the accumulator, the value in the accumulator should be 8. Vibob, open webcam. No. Sorry. And then the final step is I want to store what's in the accumulator in 40. Okay. Now if I assemble this and run it, assemble it and run, okay, you can see the accumulator has 0, 8 in it because we took 3 plus 5. We added that into the accumulator and we stored it in 40. We don't see what's in 40, but basically you can see that it worked here. So if I change this to like a 1, so 1 plus 5, assemble and run, we get a 6. Now, one thing to be careful of, these are hexadecimal numbers, and so that's why I kept the numbers really low. If you don't know what hexadecimal is, don't lose any sleep over it. It's just a different counting system with base 16. So this is essentially how your computer works. Yeah, that's about it. It's pretty cool, to be honest. So again, bottom barrel. Yeah, I don't know if the cool kids still say noob. I was never a cool kid, so go for it. So yeah, so basically you can see what we did here is we started out, we put a 3 into the CPU register A, the accumulator. So this is a 3. We stored that value in memory location 38. And of course, memory is separate to the CPU. So there's a 3 here. Then we put a 5 into the accumulator. We put that into memory location 39. So now we got a 3 here and a 5 here. Now, ideally, what you want to do is you'd be able to just add these two and put it here. You can't do that. Okay, so what we did was we loaded the accumulator with what was in 38 again. So that gave us a 3 in here. We added what was in 39, which was a 5, to 3. That gave us 8. And we stored that in 40. So that was the machine code equivalent of x equals 3, y equals 5, z equals x plus y. Okay. Now keep in mind, hi Abra. Now keep in mind this is the very, how do you say, like the very detailed core language of your computer's CPU. Now your CPU runs in the gigahertz. So you're looking at millions, I don't know, billions? I don't know, millions, billions of instructions per second. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So your computer can calculate that in a millionth of a second, a billionth of a second. I don't even know. It's pretty fast. Now these old processors weren't that fast. They ran in the megahertz, so they were only 1,000 operations a second or something like that. So, but this is what happens when you have x equals 3, y equals 5, z equals y plus x in a high-level language like Python or Java or JavaScript, whatever. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm kind of not quite correct. If this was C, and you compiled it to machine code, it would come out like this. And that's what makes C so fast, because it compiles down to machine code. Now, the other languages have different ways of doing these things. So they're not quite as fast as machine code, of course, but this is how your computer actually functions. Thank you, Abra. Thank you. Love back from Japan. So this is what I really want to try and teach my students. Day 1 of AP Computer Science. I want to say, hey, this is what actually happens in your computer. Now, thankfully, over the last 50, 60 years, we've Grace Hopper, for example, developed, what was it, COBOL or Fortran? I forget which one. The early pioneers developed these higher level languages, so you didn't have to type this and do everything with assembly code. Now the thing with assembly code is it's as fast as you're ever going to get. Now again, if you're writing in C, your C compiler will reduce it down into, or compile I should say, into machine code. Now if I hit assemble, and I hit, oops, why is it not doing it? Assemble, there we go. And do hex dump, you can actually see, now these are the actual numbers that are being used. So LDA3, so A9 is, again, this is hexadecimal. So A9, so load the accumulator with a 3. Store the accumulator in 38. So this is store the accumulator in 38. Now we got A9 again, which is LDA. So we're going to load a 5. Then we're going to store it in 27. Now again, these are hexadecimal numbers, not decimal. So 26 is 38, 27 is 39, and then 28, of course, will be 40. So then we load A5 with what's in, it's a little confusing because of the hexadecimal, but Shogun I. Then we add with carry what's add with carry what's in 27, and then we store accumulator again into memory location 40, which is 28 hexadecimal. So that is pretty darn cool. So that is how your computer works at the very, very fundamental basic level. Again, I don't teach this stuff to my students per se. I just do it the first day of class to try and get them to understand, how their computer works at the fundamental level, and to make them hopefully grateful that we have higher level languages like JavaScript and Python, etc. So, can you make Valorant in Python? I don't know what Valorant is. Valorant. Excuse me. Riot Games. Okay. Today's title: First Person Shooter. Mehul. No, I cannot. I do not. I don't really do a lot of 3D stuff. Oh my gosh, look at that. I think you're better off using some kind of engine for that, like Unity or one of those things. That would take care of a lot of these things. This is something I always get like funny questions from beginners. I think they don't like kind of realize the jump it is from like the basic stuff that I do to that type of high-end 3D stuff, which I cannot do. So. QWERTY, you are very, very welcome. I'm glad I inspired you. That's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that. So Mehul, you made it in Unity, but wanted to try it in Python. Check out. I did one. I forget. I don't even remember what it's called now. Somebody mentioned it up here. I forget who it was. There's like Panda 3D, and then there's this other thing. I forget the name of it now. I did like one video on it, which lets you kind of do 3D stuff. It's a little library for that. But yeah, you're just better off sticking to Unity for something like that, I think. And QWERTY OS, Did you graduate, or are you on your way to getting your degree? I'm glad I had a positive impact on someone. This is really fascinating stuff. Second year, okay. And QWERTY OS, if you don't want to say, it's fine. Where are you studying at? Like country? Are you studying online, or kind of curious where you're studying at? Make Mario in Python using Turtle. Vibob, I have a how do you put it? I have a tutorial not for Mario, but for platformer. There you go, Mr. Tech Guy, thanks. Oh, Dalhousie University in Canada, fantastic. Let's see here. Tokyo EdTech. Tech, that's me. And Tokyo EdTech. And let's see here, what was I going to look for there? Platformer. Yosh. Python Pygame. That's Pygame. We don't want that one. There's the Ursina. Ursina is the 3D engine I was talking about. Where is that stupid thing I did? Was that? Okay, so here's the one where I took a Pygame platformer, which is this, and I changed it into the turtle. So here, I'll put the link in there for you.
Do you hate recording or having to order voiceovers?
No, not really. And QWERTY iOS, man, you're from Canada. I still miss Gord Downey. I still miss Tragically Hip. What a bummer. This guy here, Programming with Mosh. Now, like when I look for programming tutorials, he's the guy I go to. I love his stuff. Satvik, we can make high graphic games by how to write the code and Python. We use different modules. So can you? Satvik, I don't quite understand the question. If you're talking about like games, the one we just said was Ursina engine, and I think Mr. Tech Guy mentioned Panda 3D. Panda 3D, and of course 2D games. You got Pygame. There's also something called Godot, which is a kind of a free open source game making system. It doesn't use Python, but it uses Godot script, which is very close to Python. Apparently, I haven't played much with it because again, it's not my main focus in life. Because like when I teach this stuff, I tend to focus on the actual coding side of things rather than the automated tools. Because that's what I think you should learn the basics. There you go. Tech Guy, it's open source and used for Civ 4. I did not know that. Live and learn. Live and learn. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been working on here lately. I spent a couple hours a day on that whole assembly language things, because I have 2 assembly thing for my students. So, that took me about 2 hours to come up with a 40-minute lesson. But hopefully they'll appreciate it. What is the best game you can make, and can you teach that? Mayo, probably the best thing I have made is, I never finished it, which I've been hearing a lot about, is this game here, Space Arena. This is just crazy. I did 20 videos and I just kind of ran out of steam.
Okay, welcome to Space Arena, the ultimate Python
there you go.
turtle graphics game
There you go.
tutorial. Let me show you what I'm going to teach you how to do in the tutorial.
Here's the game. Check it out.
Here is my splash screen. Space Arena by Tokyo EdTech. There is some background music. I'm just going to turn it off for now. Well, I guess I can leave it on. And so, splash screen comes up. And it prints it out nicely, old school style. Asks us to press S to start. We basically got a player, we got an enemy, and...
Nice, Safik. Thanks.
So I'm going to go ahead and hit S. And there's the player, there's the power-ups, and there are the enemies. Notice there are different types of enemies. Some enemies will attack you once they get closer. Some kind of just sit there. Some will run away from you. So I'll go ahead and move around. So you notice how the player moves.
Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate that.
Player. Now I can shoot. Now when you start the game, you won't have that many missiles, but so you can see there's some particle effects.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I worked on this thing.
Over here and
And I'm always surprised when people say, "Hey, I got the lesson 20. When are you going to finish it?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in a way, it's done. I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. I don't know what else really to do with it. That's the problem. Well, it's one of the problems, I suppose. Yeah, so that's probably the most complicated thing I made. Really, Mr. Tech Guy, that's pretty interesting. That's probably, if like I'm torn. I want to do two things. I want to do like an RPG. It'd probably be 2D, like an old school like Ultima. That's probably one of the things I want to work on. And then the other thing I want to work on for myself is something like Terrarium, like a 2D version of Minecraft, essentially, and just kind of make my own little world. And I just don't have time. Mayo, can you try to make a first-person shooter game? Probably not. It's probably not in the cards. Again, if you use that Ursina engine, they basically have, you can put together something really basic with just a few lines of code. Again, for me, I tend not to do those types of things just because, if you're just like, import first-person shooter doesn't really do a lot for a person. I think again, like when I teach, I try to teach those basic skills, and then that, once you have the basic skills, go ahead and use those pretty cool, convenient tools. But I think it's important to learn the basics first. And again, my channel is, except for Space Arena, almost everything I do is really aimed at my students. Space Arena is a bit advanced, but I think everything else is pretty, basically on the level of my more advanced students to my beginner students. Well, Mr. Tech Guy, man, you know your stuff about Panda 3D. You must be a fan. So, but as I say, that is just my opinion. I could be wrong. QWERTY-iOS, do your students know about your YouTube channel? Absolutely, they know about my YouTube channel. Again, the stuff that I make for the channel, I put into my lessons. We watch it in class. I have them watch it, for help, for homework sometimes, for just review. So absolutely, and I always talk about. And I teach an entrepreneurship class as well, and I talk about my channel and how I've tried to grow my subscribers and how I try to build my channel up and stuff like that. So yeah, definitely my students know I am a quote unquote YouTuber. So absolutely, Courtney, they know. Again, it's obvious. It's connected to my name. I have my website's down, but I have a website, and I just that all that stuff's public. And there's no point in trying to hide that I have a YouTube channel, and I think the kids think it's cool. They're like, "Oh, you're a YouTuber," blah blah blah, and it's because they're very interested, of course, in that sort of thing. So it helps me to connect with the students. Hello, Abraham. Oh, nice, Mr. Tech Guy. Mail, what is your favorite game? It's funny, Mail. I am not a gamer. I do not play any games. Isn't that weird? Yeah, it's funny. I like to program games, but I don't actually enjoy playing games. Yeah, just board games, card games, computer games. No interest. It's really weird. Sadvik, do you teach basic hacking? No, I do not. You are very welcome, Vivek. I mean, Mail, if I had to choose something, probably when I was a kid, I liked Asteroids. I liked Space War. I had a lot of fun with. I liked Phoenix. Cosmic Arc on the Atari 2600. River Raid was a cool one. Jungle Hunt was a good game. That was fun. Yeah, those are kind of ones that kind of stick out in my memory. There's probably a few more. Oh, Joust. Joust was cool. I'd like to do a Joust game sometime. Code that one. That's an interesting one. Yeah, Joust was cool. Yeah, Joust. Let me find Joust. Joust online. Here we go. This was Joust. Play game. Run game. Now this is a recreation of it. I don't think it's the original. Well, maybe. Oh yeah, this is it. So loud, sorry. This was one of my favorite games when I was a kid. So you're the character. Okay. That's not it. There we go. So you got to joust. As long as you hit them if you're higher, you can kill the enemy. You got to get the eggs too, or they become like enemies. Ooh, I just died. But this was Joust. I played this a lot at the department store when I was a child. I don't know if you caught that. It came out in 1982. Come on. But yeah, it's kind of like Flappy Bird meets a platformer. Oh, yeah, anyway, you get the idea. That was Joust. That was one of my favorites when I was a child. Scratchy Head Game. I don't know what that is. Sorry. And Sadvik, I do not know much about hacking myself. I would just try to Google that on YouTube, man. It's all there. It's like, yeah, you guys are so lucky. You know, when I grew up, we had like these, we had computer magazines, no internet, of course. In my day. And stay off my lawn while I'm at it. Just kidding. Yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of what I've been up to. And again, I'm kind of waiting until I get back to my normal home. I have 5 more days of quarantine until I can leave where I'm at, and then I can go back to Tokyo and start making videos again. And actually, I got to get back to work, as one does. Yeah, Joe, lots of computer magazines. I typed a lot of programs, tried to save them to cassette tape, which almost never worked properly, and then try to load them later. Of course, it didn't work. You have to type them again. It was a different era for sure. It was definitely a different era. But like I said, that was where I learned this type of stuff and all these kinds of basics and things like that. I honestly think there's some value to knowing these things. But yeah, I could just be an older person just talking, trash. Who knows? Can you tell me about the first language and binary? Safik, that is exactly what I was talking about here with this whole 6502 thing. Yeah, Joe, that load function was you just said load asterisk comma 8 comma 1 and just pray. Safik, this whole thing, just rewind and watch what I was talking about here. This is the whole binary first language thing. This is it. So this is x equals 3. This is y equals 5. This is add x and y, and this is put that value in z. So this is probably what you're asking. Oh, your friend lives in Tokyo. Yeah, Tokyo's a nice place. big. A little bit, a lot of COVID right now. All the Olympics, I hear. I haven't been in Tokyo for a couple months now, and 6-7 weeks now. But I get to go back. I will go back next week. I can't wait. Phew. Alrighty. Well, anyway, I think that's about all I've got to say, unless anybody else has a last-minute question or something I can throw in. But yeah, I just wanted to pop on, say hello, and kind of see how people are doing. And yeah, I guess I kind of show what I'm working on here. This is my next. Start working do a little bit of just basic JavaScript. How to do a little bit of JavaScript, how to some variables, do some comparisons and loops and things. Meho, where do you live? I live in Tokyo, but I also have a place out in the countryside of Japan as well. So that's where I'm at now. I'm at my other house, but I have an apartment in Tokyo. I work in Tokyo, and I relax out here, and quarantine apparently. Yeah. Yeah, it's alright. Tokyo's a big city. I'm not hard to find. I am not hard to track down. If you Google me, you'll figure out where I'm at and what I do. There's no point. Yeah, I haven't till it crashed. I had a website that had all that information on it. Or if you go on LinkedIn, you can find me. I'm not hard to find. Mr. Deck, the center of civilization. Well, it's one way of looking at it. It's a nice place, but I don't know if I'd call it the center of civilization. Maybe anime civilization? Who knows? Otaku civilization? Perhaps. Anyway, y'all, I'm going to call it a day. And, yeah, I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. But I'm glad we had this chat. So y'all take it easy, and I will see you next time.